Next is how to handle exceptions. Before talking about how to handle exceptions, let's talk about why we should handle exceptions. Recall from the introduction, an exception is an indication that something is wrong with our program. Perhaps the logic is wrong and we need to correct it or throw an exception, catch an exception. Let's go to Eclipse. Start with the main method and the value. Int value equals 34 divided by 0. Print the value. Concatenate the value. We are unable to divide any number by 0. So 34 divided by 0 is not a valid operation. The syntax is correct, so there is no problem when running our program. Notice the program terminated without printing a value. However, we see an exception. Read the exception from bottom up. The package is com.selenium for beginners.java.exception handle. The class is no exception handling. Main is the method. No exception handling.java.7 shows the class name and line number with a problem. The previous line is the exception, showing exception in thread main. Java lang.arithmetic exception divided by 0. This means there is a problem with our logic. Click the line number and we are directed to the root of our problem. How to handle an exception? We handle exceptions using 4 keywords and a test framework. Try, catch, test ng is the test framework. Throw, throws, and finally. Try and catch are the core of handling exceptions. Try is used to monitor code that may cause an exception. Catch is used to handle an exception if an exception is thrown. We can choose to add more than one catch statement to handle an exception. What's the purpose of handling an exception? The purpose is to give power to our code. With that power, our code can respond to any problem, then continue running our program. Let's take a look. Copy the previous code. Write try, control space, copy the code, and place it within the brackets for try. Exception is the type of exception, and E is the object that stores a value after catching an exception. However, I'm going to change exception to arithmetic exception and E to EXC. I changed exception to arithmetic exception because arithmetic exception is the type of exception that happens after dividing by 0. Add a print statement. Sysout can't divide by 0. We can also call some methods by writing EXC, the object, and the dot operator. And some methods are get localized message, get message. We also see get stack trace. But I'm going to leave off calling an exception. Let's run. can't divide by 0. This is how we handle exceptions. In this example, we know the exception is arithmetic exception. Copy this code and paste the code. So we know the exception is arithmetic exception. If we are not sure of the exception, then it is common to add multiple catch statements. Each catch statement must be different. Let me show you the superclass, which is exception. Since it deals with all program-related exceptions, write catch exception E and write a print statement. There is a problem and run. We see the same print statement, can't divide by 0. If we use exception, then it must be placed in the last catch statement. Look what happens when we add exception before arithmetic exception. Unreachable catch block for arithmetic exception. It is already handled by the catch block for exception. Everything after the superclass exception cannot be reached. Change it back. We can also handle exceptions using the test framework, test.ng. There is an attribute called expected exceptions for the test annotation. All we need to do is pass in one or more classes. The purpose is to list exceptions that a test method is expected to throw. So far, up to this point, we have caught exceptions created automatically by the JVM. The throw statement makes it possible to manually throw our own exception. We write keyword throw, new, followed by the name of the exception class. A method must declare an exception in the throws clause if the method generates an exception that it does not handle. However, the throwable subclasses error and runtime exception are not required in the throws list. All other exceptions will show a compilation error. If there is an exception or not an exception, the finally block of code will always execute regardless of the condition. Let's go back to Eclipse. Copy, paste. Say, for example, we have a database connection, network connection, or maybe a file that's open. At the end of the try catch block, we can add a finally block and a print statement. Sys out, close the open file, and this block of code will always execute. Let's run. And we see can't divide by 0. Close the open file. Remove the exception by changing 0 to 2. Let's run again. There is no exception. Value equals 17. Close the open file. The print statement for finally also showed up. That's it for how we handle exceptions.
Online courses coming soon. Books available in paperback, ebook, and PDF. All Part 1 ebooks and PDF documents are free. Programming books for UFT. Programming books for Java. Here's the Selenium automation book. And test.ng. Subscribe to get notification of future videos. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.